Now, one thing I did ask Ted to look at, and it doesn't change the overall, but I'm not even sure we can do it. If you look at Carroll County school funding for 19, 20, and 21, we go from 192.3 to 194.2, which is about 1.9 million, and then jump up to 203, which is almost a $9 million increase. What I'd like to see is if there's any way amongst those 2 years that we could get from maybe 192 to a higher number and then bring that back down. I know in high number in 20 and then bring it back down to a lower number in 21 and offset those funds. Now, part of the reason is because I think, we talked about the combined education committee meeting. We've talked about, we got a new superintendent. I just don't think there's any realistic way to get from 192 to 194.2, given what we've got ahead of us. So I'd rather have a more realistic number there, but also as they're looking at 3 years of negotiations, I'd much rather have a more realistic, even if it's a more modest number in 21, or maybe over those 3 years. I don't know, but I feel like it's unlikely that's going to play out that way anyhow. And from a planning standpoint for the system, there's really no justification other than what we have available as to why you'd want to go from 192 to 194 to jump up to 203 and then on down the line. I'd rather see that increment a little more slowly but more realistically.
So in answer to your question, and $2 million was the number you had brought up. And
that was my opening offer, Tim. No, I'm kidding.
And actually, it's easily accomplishable. And when we talked, it didn't immediately occur to me, but you might remember you added from unassigned fund balance $2 million to each of 19, 20, 21, and 22. We could move the $2 million that's in 21 to 20, and it affects nothing else.
So then 20 would be 196, and then 21 would be 201.
Correct.
Yes.
There's no net effect, but I think that's a lot more. We're going to increment 3 million or so, right? 3.5 million. Then we're going to increment 5 million from there. It just, that's something I think someone could plan from and work from, and it doesn't really affect us over the course of the budget, but I think it makes more sense.
And if you made that change, the increase from 19 to 20 would be 2.0%, and the increase from 20 to 21 would be 2.4%.
So it brings it more of a balanced approach to it. Over
Well,
those three.
it may be balanced, but I don't know that it's good management. You see, here's what this current budget structure says to me as a manager. The school system has given out $9.2 million a year in raises every year for the last 3 years. What it says is take a break in FY20, just take a breather for 12 months, and then resume salary increases again in 21. Moving putting a $4 million of cash into 20 is going to encourage the issuance of generous salary increases at a time when the budget is still being plugged with a substantial amount of cash. So I prefer it the way it is right now.
The only problem is they're going to negotiate a 3-year agreement. All they have to do is be, that much more aggressive in years 2 and 3, and I don't think that serves our purpose either. I think slow, steady growth that's manageable and reasonable, because what's going to end up happening, my best guess is another board next year is going to find one-time money to supplement that. I'd rather chart a course that's manageable.
And isn't next year a negotiating year?
This
year.
This
fall.
This fall.
Well, but it's for
For next budget,
Fall,
right?
yeah.
20.
Right.
Or, right.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Time
Okay.
to move it on.
Yeah.
It's 20.
One of these years. But
Now-
and again, that's why I feel like a reasonable target is much more a better approach. You can't be looking for 3 and 4% when we're talking 2%. But if we're talking 1% and 4%, then I think it's easy to say, well, we'll just, we'll fight that fight on the steps of the county office building. And it doesn't have a dollar impact. I mean, and in fact, they're both in the out years So someone's gonna get another bite of both of those apples either way. But I think from a long-term planning standpoint, it makes a heck of a lot more sense.